My name's Daniel. I'm 29 now, but this story happened when I was around 12, and I still think about it more often than I'd like to admit. Every neighborhood I've lived in since then, I always find myself checking the windows before I go to sleep. I guess that habit started because of what happened back then. We just moved into a quiet little suburb on the edge of town. It wasn't fancy, but it was the kind of place where people waved when they mowed their lawns and kids rode bikes in the street until dark. To my parents, it felt safe. To me, it felt like starting fresh. New school, new friends, a clean slate. Our neighbor on the left side was an older woman named Mrs. Taylor. She lived alone in a small, faded yellow house with the blinds always closed. I didn't think much of her at first. Everyone has that one neighbor who keeps to themselves, right? Sometimes when I rode my bike or took the trash out, I'd notice her standing by the window just watching. Not angrily, not even curious, just blank. Like she was there physically but not really there. My mom said she was probably just lonely. One evening she asked me to return a casserole dish we'd borrowed from her a few days earlier. The sun had already set and a thin mist hung over the street. I remember walking up to that porch, no lights, no sound, the boards creaking under my feet. When I knocked, nothing. But just as I turned to leave, I heard movement inside. Slow footsteps, then silence. I set the dish down and walked home, telling myself she hadn't heard me. That was the first night things started feeling off. Over the next few days, her living room light would flick on and off at random hours. Not like someone watching TV, just sharp bursts of white light. I'd look out my window and see her shadow pacing back and forth behind the curtain. Then came the scratching. One night, around 2 a.m., a faint scraping sound woke me up. It was coming from my window. Slow, uneven, metallic. Our motion light outside flicked on, and for a split second, I saw a shadow. Someone was standing there. I froze. The light went out again, and the scratching stopped. The next morning I found streaks on the glass, thin lines carved into the dew, and footprints in the dirt below the window. My dad called the police, but there wasn't much they could do. No cameras back then, no witnesses, no proof. But deep down, I knew who it was. For a while, things went quiet. I started sleeping with the blinds shut tight, and a blanket over my head like that would somehow protect me. Every now and then I'd catch the curtain next door move, just slightly, like someone had been watching and stepped away. Then came the night that still keeps me up sometimes. My parents were out having dinner with friends, and I was home alone watching TV. It was a quiet Saturday, dead quiet. Around 10 p.m., I heard that same dragging sound again. Only this time it wasn't at my window. It was along the side of the house. I muted the TV and stood still. Through a small gap in the blinds, I could see someone moving near the back fence. The porch light flicked on, and in that instant, I saw her. Mrs. Taylor, barefoot, wearing a long nightgown, her hair wild, and something glinting in her hand. A kitchen knife. She moved slowly along the siding, scraping the blade against the wood as she went. That metallic screech still makes my stomach twist when I think about it. I backed away from the window and ran to lock every door I could. Then I hid behind the couch, holding my breath. There was a thud at the back door, then another, then a faint scratching sound on the glass, just like before. It went on for what felt like forever until the distant wail of sirens cut through the silence. Our next-door neighbor had seen her wandering through our yard and called the police. By the time they arrived, she was gone. They found the knife near the fence and footprints leading straight to her porch. She was arrested later that night. Turns out she'd been suffering from severe paranoia and believed we were spying on her through her windows. After that, her house sat empty for months. Someone new eventually moved in, but I could never look at it the same way again. Even now, all these years later, whenever I hear metal scrape against glass, whether it's a branch, a gate, or just my imagination, I still freeze for a second. Because no matter how quiet the neighborhood seems, you never really know who's watching